Adventures of Sonic Episode 52, Babysitter Jitters. It'll be weird adjusting to a typical lighthearted story after the earlier epic story arc. Scratch plans to blow up a dam to flood a peaceful village. Well, they'll fail, so it's still lighthearted. They end up getting covered in pink stuff, and Robotnik succeeds in destroying the dam, surprisingly, since he was actually there to personally ensure the mission's success and press the button. He wants to make a fishing resort for himself. I like that it's explained that someone flew a plane to make a cloud message warning Sonic to show up at Beaver Dams. Sonic fixes the dam with rocks with his super speed and uses a tornado in the river to direct the water into the lake. Then he feels dizzy from the spinning, and Robotnik curses him for ruining his real estate development. Sonic is told he'll get a chili dog barbecue, but Sonic has to babysit some kids, which he isn't happy about, adding depth to his character. Tails says Sonic always says how much he loves babes, which is good, and Sonic says he doesn't know how to handle babies. This is so good for his character. This is showing him in a new light. He steps on a toy, waking the babies. They cry, and he uses super speed to give them their food, only for them to throw the food at them. I don't know how people can stand babies, especially 3 of them at once. They have the patience of a saint for not losing their tempers. That's why I'll never have children. Sonic is told they need a diaper change, when he wouldn't know how to do that at all, and he puts the crib around the babies to trap them in a cage. Somehow, they break the crib to break free though, and a baby rides Sonic's shoulder to his annoyance. Scratch and Grounder plan to catch Sonic off guard as the Beaver baby girl chews through a cupboard and sends plates off the cupboard, making Sonic catch them, only for him to have the cupboard fall on him and break the dishes. What a poorly built house. Sonic puts the babies on a leash, with Tails lampshading that their father wouldn't approve of this, and the kids cut down a tree. Scratch dresses up like a woman talking falsetto again, and I have the biggest smile again because it's hilarious seeing him try to do this. But the idea that Sonic wouldn't instantly recognize this obvious robot as Scratch is ridiculous. It gives him an idiot ball moment where he takes forever to realize that Scratch take off his wig and let him get steamrolled. Grounder replaced the babies with dummies, and he taunts Sonic in a blimp, using them as hostages. Scratch is able to see Robotnik in the shower singing when he contacts him, which is odd as I wouldn't expect Robotnik to have a camera there. The robots are scared to talk to him, but they get complimented about what they did. It turns out the Beaver babies are near a giant bomb. It's interesting to see Scratch and Grounder looking after babies. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Surprisingly, one of the babies hits a button for a trapdoor and are happy about sending them falling. I guess the blimp was on autopilot since Grounder flies Scratch back to it without it crashing. Wait, shouldn't Scratch be the one who flies? Why does Grounder get all the cool abilities? The babies play with the blimp's controls, which is amusing as it sends the robots into the wall from the speed of the blimp. Robotnik's head isn't quite the same color as the rest of his body, which is weird. The robots show up and fall apart. Why are Grounder's hands skin colored now? It's like he has real flesh hands, which is creepy. The babies show up with parachutes they somehow found and crawl away from Robotnik. They crawl on Robotnik's freeze ray and freeze them and lick the ice cube. Shouldn't their tongues get stuck to it? That's not a good message for the kids, and the show as Sonic says. While it's impressive to see how competent against the villains they are, these babies are way too smart. How old are they? They push Robotnik into a spike trap that should have killed him, and then they get trapped in a cage from the ceiling out of complete nowhere. Then Sonic magically unlocks the door with one of his small hair spines, when he could have spin-dashed it apart and it would have made sense. He easily stumbles into the cage room, and because it's too easy, he figures out it's a trap. He accuses Robotnik of planning to open up a trapdoor, and Robotnik sends the babies into a trapdoor right in front of Sonic, causing Sonic and Tails to jump into it. Surprisingly, the babies that fell were holograms. That's very genre-savvy and brilliant of the show's Robotnik. Then the ceiling above them closes and Sonic can't spin dash to get out. I guess his brief smile was fake to try to reassure himself. Robotnik plans against the Beaver Village again, and the babies mention Sonic and chew their way out of the cage. This isn't Rugrats. How are they able to do this at their age? Like, they must be older than they look. One of them blasts a laser to create a hole to save Sonic as Tails flies Sonic out of it, and one of the babies tells them where Robotnik's going. Robotnik switches on the forward drill in his machine, and Sonic pulls along the babies in a wagon since he can't just leave them alone, with them wasting milk spraying at him briefly. Sonic uses his fin dash to shake the machine, and Robotnik uses an electrostatic force field on it, making Sonic's spines look awful, and somehow he's too full of static to spin into a ball. The babies then are Chekhov's gunmen as they ambush Robotnik. The girl ties up Scratch with a bandage and spins him around, and Grounder's mouth is stuffed with a cannon shell that hurts him. That's right, they're so pathetic that they lose to literal babies. And parodying the catchphrase he has, made me giggle for the 4th time of the show because he said he hates babies almost as much as he hates hedgehogs.
I hate babies almost as much as I hate hedgehogs!
The show doesn't make fun of itself and deconstruct itself very much, when that's key to brilliant writing. Then Sonic gets the babies back home, and he brags that he loves babysitting. This flaw of his actually backfires on him because he's told to watch the babies for the weekend, and they spill milk at him. But never mind, he cheers up way too quickly like a Gary Stew instead of being angry. I was about to compliment the show and having its flaws inconvenience him like a real person. He still wins way too easily, that's my point with them. And the Sonic says it's about watching babies correctly. This was a pretty great episode, where we get to see how Sonic would react to babysitting some babies. And in order to make sure there's still action in the episode, the babies are smart enough to talk and inconvenience the villains who kidnapped them, even defeating Robotnik for the episode. Although I refuse to believe Sonic wasn't able to curl up into a ball just because of static. Maybe hair gel solidifying his hair too much would make more sense. I guess Robotnik loves random pointless destruction because he had no reason not to just go to a lake if he wanted to fish and not try to flood a town for it. And I love that Sonic's flaw gets him in trouble because he brags lying and he gets saddled with more babysitting. But he was way too chipper about it afterwards. I was wondering if this episode would be about Tails getting babysat, and I'm glad that wasn't the case. And since the babies are beavers, they're able to be useful by chewing through stuff. Which honestly made me forgive them for being so annoying at first. I think the previous story arc might be the point where the show really got great, but maybe some bad episodes are yet to come. He hasn't had a bullshit disguise plan in a while.